Hi everyone. In this video, I'll just be giving a brief discussion on what editor you should be using when submitting code on the SACO Evaluator. Now, the short answer is that it really doesn't matter what editor or IDE software you use to code up solutions. At the end of the day, you simply submit a single file containing all your code to the evaluator. Now, with that said, if you do use IDEs such as Delphi 2010 or NetBeans for Java, then a lot of the time you're often forced to make use of project or workspace environments which require you to set up a whole bunch of configuration settings. And it will also usually generate lots of scaffolding code, which is completely unnecessary for competitive programming. Keep in mind that during a contest, time is everything, right? You want to spend as little time as possible setting up your coding environment, which will leave more time for actually solving the problems. Okay, so there are two main solutions which I would recommend. The first is using an online compiler. Now, in my opinion, this is by far the easiest. The only possible downside is that it would require constant internet connectivity. Okay, so if you go to a web browser and you go to rextester.com/Pascal_online_compiler, then you'll get the following window over here. Alright, so as you can see, they already give you a simple Hello World program. And if we click run it, or if we press F8, then it'll run the code for you and generate the output over here, Hello World. Okay, so it's that simple. Now, in a contest, what you'd want to do is simply download the template file from the SACO Evaluator as usual, open it in any bare bones editor you like, such as Notepad, and then simply copy and paste the code from Notepad to the online compiler. So we can open our code for speeding over here, and we can say just copy all of this code and paste it here. So just Control C, Control V for copy and paste. All right, so you're just copying and pasting the code here. Once we have it, we can click run. Now, if you just click run it on code like this without supplying any input, it's just going to say working. It's just going to hang. So if you want to give input, what you want to do is click the show input text, and it will present you with a yellow box. So here, if we input, say, 31,000, and we click run it on our speeding code, we get an output of 120, which is precisely what we expect. Okay, so it's very simple to use. You just code up how you would in a normal IDE, but using an online compiler. Put your code here, put your input in the yellow box, and your output is given right over here. And you can do the same thing for any other language. So this specific online compiler is great because it's neat, easy to use, and it also offers C++, Python, Java, and Pascal, which are all languages supported by our evaluator. Okay, so this would be my first choice for an editor. But if using an online compiler is not feasible, then the second option I'd recommend is to use a general purpose programming text editor, such as Atom or Visual Studio Code. Now, the one I'll be looking at in this video specifically is the second option, VS Code. This is a really neat editor, which gives you a basic, simple programming environment straight out of the box, but it also has support for many thousands of extensions which you can add yourself. So my recommendation would be to download VS Code, which you can do at code.visualstudio.com. Alright, and you can just click here, you can download for Windows, you can go through the installation procedure, and then once that's installed, you can open it, and you'll get something like this. Okay, so this is VS Code, and I've just opened the speeding.pas file, which I used in the previous video. So once you've got Visual Studio Code, then I would also recommend that you get the IO_run extension. So if you go to the left at extensions, then you can search for extensions here in the marketplace. So you can search for IO_run, and here you'll get the IO_run extension, which you can install, which I already have installed here. Now you'd also want to just install any extensions relevant to your language. So if you want to code in Pascal, then you can just search Pascal and install this extension as well. what this would do is it would give you some extra neat features like syntax highlighting. As you can see here, you have different colors depending on the syntax, and you also have auto-completion. So for example, it'll automatically complete for loops for you, which is pretty neat. I mean, of course, there's no obligation to use any of these features, but the option is there for convenience. Okay, so what the IO_run extension does is it gives you this little blue run icon in the upper right corner. And this is very convenient. It means you don't have to do any separate compilations in any separate windows or terminals. All you do is you code it up in here on VS Code. And once you've written your code, you just click the IO_run button right here. It'll then compile, it'll run everything, you can put in your input, and you don't have to change Windows at all. So it's very convenient, it's a really nice solution. Alright, so basically those are the two main options that you can use. You can either use an online compiler, which in my opinion is by far the easiest, no installation required, just use any web browser and go to rextester.com over here. And the other option is to use something like VS Code. There's also Atom and many others. I mean, if you search online, you will find many different text editors that one can use. So by all means, feel free to search around and find which one you prefer. I will mention that certainly you'll find many strong opinions from people about programming editors all over the internet, with many remaining adamant that their editor is the best. But as I mentioned in the beginning, at the end of the day, you can use whatever you're most comfortable with. The only thing I would not recommend is to use software whose main purpose is rapid application development. So this includes software like Delphi 2010 and NetBeans. It is possible to use them, but it's usually a lot more hassle than it's worth. Especially if you're new to programming, I would suggest your best bet is to use something like VS Code, or even better, just use an online compiler. Okay, so hopefully that gives you a good idea on what editors to use. If you're still having trouble, you can leave a comment or just email us at admin@sacoevaluator.org.za. All right, thank you.